evening and welcome to the Chicago Communicated News on Point with Ms. Madeline Sanders. This evening, we're going to be talking about the treatment of African Americans in Ukraine and in Russia, and the seemingly war that has started and how that's going to impact us as African Americans here in the United States of America. I'd like to welcome to the show Ms. Madeline Sanders. Madeline, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Wanda. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this issue because it is very important. And I'm very certain that a lot of people are not aware of how Africans and African Americans are treated in the Slavic countries, which consist of places like Russia, Lithuania, the Ukraine, which is right next door to Russia, and then there's Poland, of course, and there's some other countries that are contiguous to Russia, and
right.
and like I said, a lot of folks don't realize about they don't realize that there is racism against Africans and African Americans.
That's really, I don't think that I realized that that racism exists so prevalently outside of the U.S. I know it exists here because we're in North America, so we know. But
yeah,
in other places, I just didn't realize that it was so prominent.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the color of our skin has affected how we are treated, not only in the United States but worldwide.
That's ugly,
and it is ugly.
Yeah.
Yes. And here's the thing: a lot of those Africans who got caught up, unfortunately, in that crisis that's going on in Ukraine, a lot of there are thousands of Africans there who've been going to school there because to them, oh, you have an opportunity to come here and go to school. It won't cost as much, or as it would if you were going to the Western world. And so that was the bill of goods that was sold to Africans.
Wow, interesting. I thought that we might take a look at something that caught my attention on YouTube.
Getting a graduate degree and professional degrees. People, Africans going there to become doctors and lawyers.
Okay.
So these are not people who are just first time in college at the college level. These are people who have experience, and they're going there to get advanced degrees quite often.
Okay.
To the Slavic countries. And like I said, it was based on a sales pitch, cheaper, better, et cetera, et cetera. And now they have found out, because the pudding has come home to roost. They have found out just what Ukrainians really think about them.
Hey, it's obvious that racism is worldwide. I mean, but I just never thought of it like that. I just never thought of racism reaching so far across the globe like that. And Livette brought to my attention this morning some interesting information. Welcome to the show, Livette. Let's talk about how you have seen and experienced this information about how African Americans are treated in Ukraine and in Russia. What say you? Livette, can you hear me? She might be muted.
Okay.
Uh,
And while you're waiting for her to come in, one thing I'm going to say is that you want to make sure we're talking about Africans in Ukraine, not African Americans, and it's important for us to make that distinction because even Africans don't have the same sentiment towards African Americans as Africans do towards Africans. So there's
that's
some
true.
that there's disconnect
Yes.
that exists there, and
Yeah.
that has continued through the decades.
Wow.
Unfortunately, um,
Okay.
yeah. So one thing, and when I asked about it, specifically wanted to talk about an issue that I have encountered, which started years ago. My son, who is an African American male, married a Russian woman. He was in Russia back in the 90s. He went over there to actually go to school, graduate school, and then he was teaching English as a second language, and he met a Russian woman. They connected, and well, while he was living in Russia, of course, he had a passport, and somehow he told me that his passport got stolen, and he had to get back to the United States, and he brought her with him, and they actually got married in while they were still in Russia. They got married,
Okay.
and then he brought her to the United States. And
Is she this
ultimately,
age? They the same age or?
no, he's about 7 or 8 years her senior.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, and he um, he was born in 1968. So we're talking when all this happened, when he met her, it was in the 1990s. And so at that point, he was about 30,
Uh-huh.
30 some, no, about 20 some years old, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say. So anyway, so when they came back to the United States, the marriage lasted 10 years. Ultimately, they split, but there was a child that was born from that union. And that's my granddaughter. And she is my only grandchild.
Oh,
Well, uh, very smart young woman. She just graduated, in fact, from Michigan State last spring, and she's got a bachelor's in biomedical engineering.
okay.
That's her field. And now, when my son and his second wife, she was the second wife, when they split up, she at that point made it her she made it her venture to make sure that I had no relationship with my granddaughter.
Mm.
She went about any way and every way she could to, well, when the girl was a child, of course, she had a lot more control over, to keep her away from me. And even to the point of when I called her one time several years ago and told her I wanted to reestablish my relationship with my granddaughter, and her response was, "I'll think about it."
Wow.
So, and that's what it was. So, anyway, it's been a very nasty experience for all these years, Wanda. And I actually had, uh, now I've been able to keep up with my granddaughter's movement.
Mm-hmm.
She's an excellent swimmer. She's actually has Olympic swimming skills. And I know that I am very certain that when she went to Michigan State, she went to Michigan State University. I know that she got a scholarship to go to attend school there, um,
Okay.
based on her swimming skills. And I've been able to somewhat keep up with her. I could not, in fact, when I tried to find her on Facebook, uh, I had difficulty doing it because I figured that she was using her middle name, and I have literally forgotten her middle name, but something happened. I was able to find out what her middle name was. And I went on Facebook, in fact, last summer, and I found her, all of her, she had pictures going back all the way from to when she was a little girl, probably around 7, 8 years old, all the way up to the time when she was at Michigan State. And so I put all those pictures, I grabbed all those pictures and I put them in a folder. Fortunately, I did that before she blocked me. She actually blocked me.
The mother blocked you?
No, my granddaughter did, and but I know it was because of her mother. Uh,
Oh, why would her mother be
yeah.
so adamantly against you knowing and forming a relationship with your granddaughter?
Well, I
I
know
hear a lot of background noise. I don't know what that is, but
it's not me, it's somebody else.
okay. All right.
Um, well, it really is, Wanda. I concluded years ago that this really was about her not wanting her daughter, my granddaughter, to have any connection with her ex-husband's African American roots.
But isn't
That,
she dark skinned? I mean, you can tell she's an African American because she's got to have some color.
yeah, when you see her, my granddaughter, when you see her, at least I think when you see her, if you saw, I have a picture of her. In fact, one of the pictures that I pulled from Facebook, I have that one of those pictures on my laptop. When I look at her, I see an African American, biracial. I see a
Okay.
biracial individual.
Right. Okay.
I can tell from her skin color and from her features. Her features, in fact, mirror my side of the family.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay.
and I can look at her and tell certain things about her, and know that she has our bloodline.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so anyway, that's what that is. But her mother, in fact, uh, I went to the house where her mother lives, last year, during the Christmas holidays, and I just decided I was going to just test the water with that. I had the information about where she lived for several years. So I just decided to go there. I didn't expect a warm greeting. And when she didn't open the door. The guy that she's currently with opened the door, and she was standing right behind him. She stepped outside, and she said, the first question she asked me was, "How did you find me?" And
Oh, wow.
I mean, there was no greeting or nothing like that, you know?
Okay. All right. All right.
and and it was like she was very irritated by the fact that I even knew where she lived. And
Wow.
and so
Interesting.
yeah, and I told her, well, I used to have a mortgage business, so of course that's how I found you. You know, I can find anybody.
Right.
And
Right.
so the story, the conversation went something like this, to this effect. I said, I want to reestablish a relationship with my granddaughter. I said, she's my only grandchild, and I have a right to that relationship. And then she started talking about my son, her former husband, what he didn't do, and so forth. I said, I have nothing to do with any of that. Nothing. He's an adult male. He's a man. He's not a child. And I said, and my only interest is to establish a relationship with my granddaughter. And I
Yeah.
have a right to do that.
Wow. I I'd like to welcome to the show Lavette Haynes and Limo and Andrea Raleigh. I'd like to welcome both ladies to the show, and we're talking about how Africans, I said African Americans, are treated in Ukraine and Russia. Racism is global. It's not just here in North America. And so, Lavette, can we hear your comment? I think you're muted. I don't know if you uh, are able to hear us. Can you give us a comment on what you've discovered about racism, or about the way it is a global situation? What say you?
Well, some things come to light when you're actually, listening to the news, and you may not be aware of conditions that people are experiencing until they're highlighted in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because this became a situation that was broadcast, it's brought light to um, the racial disparities in Ukraine. They are being uh, ethnically removed, but their sentiments is that because they have privilege, um, they are treating others the way they're being treated. And it doesn't help globally to have empathy for something that's going on when that same uh, condition is being uh, placed on someone else. And so it puts you in a perplexing kind of mind state, because you want to, you know, be in favor of democracy and what's going on, and and then democracy is not being given to the next man.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy, everywhere, and it shows that there's this element of ethnic privilege that is uh, created to give certain people privilege, and based upon their skin color they believe that is true.
Mm.
And that's the bad thing, is because to me racism is just an illusion. And so people have taken, I mean, it's just like a magic trick, or it's just like a bunch of kids getting together and saying, hey, I give you an example. When I was a little kid, I was the only girl that joined the the uh 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 the monkey club. Now, we didn't call ourselves monkeys in derogatory manner, but if you can climb the tree, you're in the monkey club.
Okay.
So people just create ideas and concepts. And so racism was created as a conduit to promote someone's privilege, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all that it is. And so that's what's being exemplified in Ukraine, even though they're fleeing to another country.
Even though they're
You've got dark race being told you got to get in the back of the line. They're being punched and beaten for no reason. And so this is being displayed globally, and just makes you wonder, what kind of situation people are living in, and how close that kind of stuff is to your own base.
right. I want you guys to take a look at something. It's kind of just it's mind-boggling to see adults perform in this
Can you
manner.
hear me?
Yes.
Wanda,
Yes.
it's Andrea Rayla, but I'm in the car, and every time I go over a bump on Lakeshore Drive, you might not get to hear me because it might cause it to not work.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say first, I don't know, you can't see me, right?
No, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to let everybody know that I happen to be a white person, and half of me is Lithuanian from my family that came and escaped Lithuania because the Russians took over there.
Okay.
They wanted to put him in the Russian army, and they said no. And so they faked a passport and came over to America. But beyond that, the other half of me, I don't tell, because it's the bad half. It's from a country that nobody really respects. It's a white country. So I never
Okay.
tell them that what the other half is.
Oh,
And also white people look down on that white race. So I never divulge what that race is. So
okay.
white people can be prejudicial against white people. And in this particular race, when they came to America, they were low life, and they were given the worst job, just like the Chinese were given the jobs to build the railroad tracks and mine and be basically slaves. And then the slaves, the Africans were brought in, same conditions. And it's just, you know, it's like she said, yeah, you want to be superior. So they can even do it to white people, can even want to be superior over certain white ethnic groups.
Yeah.
And you know, if I were to be in a certain part of the city and they would know what the other white half of me is, I would just get poked fun of and made fun of, and there'd be all these racial, ethnic slurs and jokes and things like that. And
So
it would
you
be,
get to
all in good
experience it.
jest.
You get to experience racism like we get to experience racism.
So I don't say what I am.
Yeah.
So
See, but
but
that's
you know,
your protected
I'm
cover. You don't have to say who you are, because I mean that's
they
a
can't
shield.
tell. They
Exactly.
can't, right. They can't tell, which is fine. I mean, that's why, but I'm privileged too, just being born white, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you should know that there is pockets of whites that, you know, like for instance, you know, white supremacists would not like me if they found out certain things. So the point I'm making is I did not read or hear anything. I've been so busy passing petitions for candidates that are running for office,
Yeah.
working hard for a black candidate that's never run before, and I'm showing her the ropes, and I'm going out on the L's with her and stuff like that, taking her down to Loyola, get up on the north side because she's running for the Metropolitan Sanitary District. Anyway, the point is that I don't know what Ukraine is doing. There's not many black people, I think, that are in Ukraine. I don't think there's any many black people in Russia. Are they
It was
saying that
it was a
Rus-
lot.
No,
Look,
there
it
were a
was
lot.
there were a lot. I was
But are
surprised,
they
right?
still there? Are they still there now?
They were told they could not cross over to Poland,
Wow.
and that they had to get
Where are
in the
they
back.
keeping?
They're just living on the street.
Wow.
In
And
Russia?
in Ukraine.
Russia?
In Ukraine.
So
They were
since the
university.
war
They were most of who I saw were university students.
and then because of the war, they're kicking them out and making them live on the street.
Well, it's not because of the war they're kicking them out. Because of the war, everybody's fleeing. And when they got to the trains to get on the trains, they were kicked back and told that it is so they call it a name, something rule that the people
That the white people can go.
right, and that they
Yeah,
were
the
not
white
allowed.
run, and they
Exactly.
step behind. Well, you
Exactly.
know, that's true with that you know, that's true. We know that all over the world. We know that. I'm not saying it's but we need to know, just like you said, it's global. What did they do to the Jews? The
Right.
whites didn't like the Jews, and so they burn them up. What
Yeah.
did they do to what they call the gypsies, the Bohemians? They were a
Yeah.
little dark, okay? They were dark skinned. They treat them like horrible. They would,
Yeah.
you know, put them in prison. They were the untouchables. You go
Yeah.
to India, they're all the same colors, but there's 5 different people. And the lowest is the lowest class. They are only allowed to pick up and clean out human toilets and care for animals. And you can't even touch them. And that
Yeah,
they have like 7 billion people, and the
right.
lowest class cannot even be touched. And they're all one color, but they
All
have,
one
but
color.
they don't care because, but they
Mhm.
don't care because they want that. What does the woman say? Superiority, privilege.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Yeah.
say you people are below us. Okay,
Mhm. And if
even
you
though
and
they're
if
the
you
same
and if
color.
you and if you marry, and if you're Indian and you're in a caste society, if you marry outside of your family, your father will kill you.
What?
Yep.
Oh yeah, it happened here in America. Some young Indian girls tried to disobey their father, and you the only thing you got to do is just Google Indian fathers killing their children. If you try to
That is
marry
true.
outside of their caste system, and that's not just in India. You got certain tribes in Africa. You have to marry within your race or within your tribe. And so,
So it's
it,
global, right? It's global, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
global
Is
within
that? Do
our
you see?
within our.
Do you see that situation is going to ever change? Are we ever going to come to the conclusion that we are all people, we all eat, sleep, evacuate, we're all the same?
I think that it will happen with the younger generation as they, because I have grandchildren who don't really agree with some of my biases. And then I have to, evolve to their state of mind. Not that it would overtake mine, but I am forced to listen, because if you don't listen to a teenager, they will then not talk to you. So I'd rather listen, and they've persuaded me in certain ways. So it will be our younger generation that will look at themselves equally. The thing is that it's so difficult because you have so many parents, or you have people that are going backwards into this white privilege kind of mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what makes progress just come to a standstill.
Yeah.
And so it will be
And
those children. Go ahead, Andrea.
I agree with her too that it's, we hope that for a better generation. But I want to say something about the past generation. I want to say something about all the black men that were put into World War I, and all the black men that fought in World War II, and all the black men that fought in the Korean War and in the Vietnam War. You couldn't get a more greater American than a black soldier. They died
Mhm.
for our country. They
Yeah.
they sacrificed for our country, and they
Yes.
knew it was they were racist. They
Yeah.
knew that
Right.
they were not privileged. They knew that actually a lot of some of the in the World War One, they made the black soldiers stay in their own barracks and have to stay in their own side. But they
Mm.
And,
fought for a country that they believed in, and that
and,
they
and,
wanted to be better, and that they hoped it would be better, just like
Ri-
Martin Luther King. I may not
Right.
make it up that mountain, but I can see the top. And
Right.
and
I
I just,
honor
I
those
just want, I
men
just wanted
more
to
than
say
and I
that.
hate to say this.
Mm-mm.
Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, no, I was just going to say, as you were saying that, and